And as I moved into my doctoral work in the women's spirituality program, which is really kind of focused on understanding gender bias and gender violence, but also racialized bias and racialized violence, and all of the other ways that we kind of find these supremacist systems kind of functioning in the world. I was pregnant. I got pregnant with my first kiddo. And as I was kind of going through the strange making process that is a pregnancy, for anybody that's made a human, and your body does a thing that it just does, and you're suddenly home to two, but also your perception of reality starts to really change, or at least it did for me, where I remember distinctly having these moments of like looking at someone and I could not see them not as a baby. Like every adult I was relating with, I was like, I can see your baby self in there and I want to squeeze your cheeks, and that's weird, and I don't know why that's happening, and I've never had that happen before, right? So I was really in how drastically my embodied experience was changing my perception of reality really, really deeply. And through that, got really curious, like, oh, what is actually happening here? This is one of those ultimate somatic experiences where I'm really actually being transformed in a really powerful way. And so I decided to orient my doctoral research around childbirth. And as I was doing that, I was looking at childbirth practices both as a pregnant person getting ready to do the act of delivering a child, my own wants and needs and longings and desires and narratives I had about what that might be. And then also deeply researching the systemic structures that influence how birth is practiced here in the United States, which is where I am born and raised and gave birth. And the rub and the tension, really finding myself holding this really kind of messy place of wanting my birth to be a very particular way, and then really understanding how rooted and essential trauma and traumatization and violence are in our current cultural practice of childbirth. That actual violence and trauma and the traumatization of birthing bodies in particular is critical for the medicalization of birth, actually critical for the justification of medicalization of birth. So while I was in this kind of spiritual process of trying to orient to millennia of beings and all beings on this planet that give live birth, like we do